Everybody who's here today in person and to those of us who are visiting from home. We are the Unitarians of Lake Norman, and we're an open and inclusive congregation. Our members walk diverse paths to find meaning and purpose, but we're united by our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all, and by the responsibility to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. My name is Karen Abrams, and Andy and I are new to the congregation, but we have been Unitarians since about 1980. And our musician today is Mike Alec, and our speaker today is Reverend Pat, who will be discussing a vision for 2026. Skipping over the election, moving right on. We will light the chalice, maybe. Did I put it? I want you to pretend that the chalice is lit because I have put the thing up that was supposed to do it. There's more. Pretend. Okay. This is a sophomore experience. Yay. All right. So if you will join with me in our chalice lighting words, we light this flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. Thank you. And Reverend Pat will share our opening words.
I want you all to note the difference it makes if you use the microphone. Thanks, Mike, for moving the mic. That was very nice. Appreciate that. Before I give opening words, I just want to say, anybody who missed those 2 basketball games on Friday does not understand what has happened to women's sports. There were 3-point shots, especially in the first half of the NC State South Carolina game. And those of you who are still rooting for South Carolina, my dad and one of my sons went to NC State, and we're grieving hard. But it was fabulous, fabulous basketball. And those University of Connecticut women they looked to be unstoppable. But of course, Iowa stopped them. It was just fabulous, fabulous basketball. And I will hurry at Diane's request to get this over with so you all can get home. Dr. Seuss has been read by an estimated 600 million children and their parents. While his hope of softening the blows of so many social problems by influencing children is not yet realized, it certainly is not dead. He once said of his writing, "In these days of tension and confusion, writers are beginning to realize that books for children have a greater potential for good or evil than any other form of literature on earth."
And now, Mike, with our centering music. I'm with the band. Okay, and now Reverend Pat. So, do I give you enough room?
Mike, that was so good. And I hope you heard the bird harmonizing with you outside the window. Yeah, I noticed it wasn't perfect, but it was close. What if it's all about children? I've said to my own children, there is nothing more significant that you will ever do than have children. When my grandparents were marrying and having children in the 1920s, they could not have dreamed their offspring would include a Coast Guard commander, a physical therapist, one lawyer, one environmental activist, teachers, preachers, one television weatherman who appears to have found the fountain of youth, a pharmacist, computer geeks, 2 builders, one enormously generous repairman who even changes light bulbs for the old folks among his neighbors, and builds dog fences. A marine biologist, sailors, cooks, homemakers, coaches, the list goes on and on. 3 children, 8 grandchildren, 16 great-grands, and now great-great-grands that are beyond counting. I have one second cousin who has 5 children. Her dad says she wanted a basketball team. Abraham was promised his descendants would outnumber the sands of the sea and the stars in the sky. Bob Jobe and Hattie Allen Jobe have not quite gotten there yet, but there seems to be no holding back their offspring in creating offspring who may yet create offspring. Gandhi said a culture should be judged by how it treats its poorest citizens. We in the United States certainly are only marginally good at meeting that standard. But what if we judged ourselves by how we treat children? Here is what I heard Doug Wall say on March 24th, just 2 weeks ago. And he and Pat are on their way to Belize today, and they say they miss us. He and Pat once attended a UU that was in a strip mall. Plenty of parking, nice plate glass windows looking out onto the parking lot, inviting to any passersby. And it had a child care center, which often brought new members with children. Can you imagine that we might take such a step across the next 24 months? Nobody jumping up and running out. Okay, Gail's saying no. But nobody's jumping up and running out of the room. Thank you for that. We would rent, not buy, at least 3 spacious rooms in a strip mall, make sure there was plenty of room for a child care center, hire an inspired, loving, encouraging staff to treat children like the precious treasure they are, and begin our walk toward new members, new service to the community, and making a dramatic and inspiring impact on the next generation, one child at a time. You've heard this before. Plant a tree under which you will never sit and enjoy its shade. Pass on something of value to the next generation. Again, nobody has jumped up and run out of the room. It's such a good sign. Here's the really challenging part for me personally. I know nothing about how to do this. I know nothing about running a business. In fact, I have gone broke in business 3 times. There's something about doing math in there that I just don't quite understand. I've never run a child care center, or as they called it at the Greenville UU, a preschool. I do know that 10 years ago, their budget was around $300,000. In today's money, and 10 of their 30 charges were there on scholarship, a scholarship based totally on financial need. In other words, they served poor people who had 3- and 4-year-old children. It was a Montessori curriculum, which I understand is very encouraging to creativity and a solid, balanced sense of self-worth. Could we do it in 2 years? Could we do it in 3 years? Would we even want to do it in 2 or 3 years? Could we raise more money to handle higher rent, maybe 3 or 4 times the rent, maybe 10 times the rent? I can see Larry doing math in his head right now. Could we find the people to run the preschool, buy the equipment, furnish the worship area? Could we do additional programming to bolster our overall educational activities? In other words, could we marry the preschool to our own religious education program? And I don't know the answers to any of these questions, but I know we are running out of room in this beautiful Quaker meeting house. Not quite yet. We got a few empty seats left. And we do love this place. And we will eventually lose first-time visitors because there's nowhere for them to sit. Pamela, I'm glad you found a seat this morning. I may be lousy at math, but I can do that math. And I mean, it's been studied. We know that when people walk into a room and they can't find a place to sit, they leave. So we have to be careful of that. One option is to simply find a bigger room and rent it. But that would miss the opportunity to move into the childcare business. And that already sounds totally unreasonable to Gail Arnold. And it may be sounding totally unreasonable to many other people in the room, Gail, I acknowledge. If so, forget about it. I'm like Morris Udall. When he ran for president in 1976, he said, folks, these are my positions. If you don't like them, I'll change them. He was also divorced, and at that point in history, we had not yet elected a divorced president, and he was a member of the Mormon church, and he had lost an eye in childhood, and on the campaign trail, he used to say, a divorced, one-eyed Mormon can't be all bad. But I at least want to plant the child care seed. And I told Jim Price this morning, I've been thinking a lot about him when I was writing this sermon. If you want to see Jim Price light up like a Christmas tree, just get him to talk about his granddaughter. So I want to plant the child care seed, especially if we could find a visionary Montessori teacher who might be willing to write grants and set us on a path to serving poor children whose parents struggle to afford preschool education. We know the quickest path out of poverty is education, and starting with 3- and 4-year-olds might be a ticket that we could celebrate for years. There's plenty of evidence I'm crazy, but Doug Wall spoke with what sounded to me like not being crazy 2 weeks ago. I may be a poor judge of sanity, but I have attended more than one meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and one of our bywords is the definition of insanity. If you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you always got. It's just common sense. We have a magnificent congregation. And Pamela, let me just say for emphasis, we have a magnificent congregation. Our service to the larger community through dog fences, FeedNC, Doug and Pat and Susan at the Charlotte bus station, our Tuesday movies and book club, and on, that may be the best we can do. If it is, we need to own it and celebrate it. We should never fail to celebrate our service to the larger community, along with our excellent music and traditions here in this room as we gather together. Anytime the subject of congregational growth comes up, I simply ask, aren't you glad we were open to growth when you showed up? Didn't you find something of value here when you first showed up? And don't you think there are other people out there who would flourish in an environment like this? Okay, here comes the close. Get ready for it. I'm warning you. I'm fixing to close. What difference would it make in your life to know you had given a chance to a kid from a low-income family? From personal experience, I can tell you these are the toughest kids to encourage. Yet it can be done. Not with every kid, but when it works, it lights up life. Most of you know I'm a foster parent to 2 grown children. Our daughter just turned 40, and our son is now 41. We have known them and loved them and celebrated their lives for most of their lives. They have now reached those magical ages where they say, "Do you remember the time?" Oh, baby. I wrote those words with tears of joy in my eyes. What if games are for the birds? Maybe they could have had better foster parents. I don't think so, but maybe they could have. But I can say without fear of contradiction that when they found us, they did mighty well. We laughed with them, played games with them, made sure they got to school with clean clothes on, and acknowledged them at every turn, encouraged them at every turn. Both still suffer from the long shadow of post-traumatic stress syndrome. Both suffered abuse that would curl your hair if I gave you details. But both graduated from high school, although they both threatened not to. They both have been productive members of society, and each has left me with the deep sense that our Unitarian Universalist values can change lives and repair hurts. Before you are absolutely certain it would be too much for us to rent space in a strip mall and start serving the larger community's desperate need for affordable childcare, think about it. Roll it over in your minds and hearts. Light a candle. For those of you who pray, say a prayer. Don't be quick to walk away from something that Doug and Pat have seen work in other congregations. Besides, you don't want to hurt Doug's feelings. Now let's talk about it. Gail is your facilitator. Come on, Jim.
Karen.
What did I say?
Gail, and you know, she would do a good job.
Folks, just for the record, that is once again my calling people by the wrong name.
Pat flew in last night, got in about midnight from the West Coast.
I can do it on perfect night's sleep.
Just
But I'm pretty sure
just
your
trying
name
to
is
do-
Jim Arnold. So why don't you come up here?
He's
Oh,
coming
you
out.
got the microphone. Okay. All right.
So, close to the mouth and coming through okay over here?
Can you hear it?
Is it on?
No.
I don't know that it's on.
Is it on? We'll try now.
Forgive this brief pause for technical difficulty.
Try it now.
Normally I say words and music by Mike, but now it's all the words.
Can everybody hear?
Is that coming out from behind you, Karen?
Say it again.
Testing?
A little bit.
Just speak to that wall.
Say on
Or you could come up here.
It does.
I think everybody can hear me here.
Yes.
Try this anyway,
It
Greg.
should be working. So many of you may not know, but I am a business broker. I help people buy and sell businesses. And one of the things that my organization deals with regularly are preschools and daycare centers. And so the whole idea about this is not far-fetched at all. It could really easily be done with just a matter of creating an organization and pulling together the funding. It would be a board of directors, because any of those facilities has to have somebody that's certified in order to operate them. But under the right circumstances, that's an easy hire. Anyway, I just want to say, it's not a far-fetched idea at all. That's two cents.
I think that's written with the 2 cents.
Anybody else?
Well, my inclination was to say, now you're meddling. Well, who knows? I didn't know this was coming about the daycare center, but as a member of the building fund committee, I promise you we'll begin to look into that. It scares me, honestly, the finances, and I dearly love this place.
It is a wonderful
I don't
space.
think we can ever match the sacredness of this sacred space, but nevertheless, we'll be looking at that. That's
Good.
the best I can do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Jim.
Come on.
As I look around the room, I kind of doubt we've got the immediate resources in here to produce little 3 and 4-year-old kids in time. But many of us are in touch with younger generations who can do that sort of thing pretty well. We also have a former member who is even now getting certified as a preschool teacher and probably principal. And we all have other resources elsewhere in the community that we could lure in or lure back in to make it realistic. I agree entirely with Greg that the legal stuff and creating a board and doing the bylaws is a piece of cake. I mean, that's kind of a nothing problem. It's, as you said, the decision to mull it over for a while and talk about it and see what bubbles up is the obvious next step.
Well, I was gonna make a suggestion that we all run out and buy a bunch of lottery tickets.
I must confess that thought does sometimes cross my mind.
Only if you get Wordle on the first or second.
Right.
Thank you. I have spoken for a while about the fact that I think there are more projects that this congregation could take on and that there are more resources available here. I'm fairly sure financially that there's more money available here, but there hasn't been a need for it. It hasn't been asked for. It's very nice and comfortable. I think our budget is pretty easily met at this time. I'm not sure whether a daycare center is the project we ought to take on. And I'm saying we, I'm not a member here, but I'm active with you. Yeah, you know, it's a great project. It's an expensive and scary project. You know, it could be as small or as large as doing tutoring after school. It could be, you know, advancing more help with, you know, even a mother's morning out or something like that, rather than a whole day daycare. Although that still is going to serve more affluent people. The other thing is, I guess there has been a study in some way to see how much need there is for 3 and 4-year-olds. I'm assuming that, now I've lost the term for it, where kids go that are not affluent and.
Head Start.
Yes,
Head
thank you
Start.
very much. You know, Head Start, how available is that? And is most of that need able to be served that way? And could we maybe become more involved in that if we don't choose to do our own? You know, there are plenty of places that need help, and are we willing to do that? You know, and is it service or money that we're most able to give?
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Sue. And I appreciate all of you participating in this conversation, because this is exactly what I had wanted to happen. Pamela, you need to know that I sprung this on them. They didn't know what was coming. And this is exactly the kind of conversation I was hoping for. And I don't know how much of the basketball game has gone by already, but if anybody else has anything to say about it, I'd love to hear it.
We're members at Piedmont U Church, and we do have a Piedmont Progressive School there. And
Okay.
it was started by members of our congregation, and it's been quite successful over the years. Of course, the advantage, we have a facility that they can use during the week. Now, I don't know if either, you could rent this facility during the week or utilize that, but that, I'm sure there are people and it's not really affiliated with our congregation. It's just that there were members that started it, and maybe a little bit of crossover at times, but it certainly would serve as, there's resources there that might be helpful to Lake Norman in getting this going.
It's a great idea.
Thank you, Jeff.
And then a couple of cents to what I put down before. Just think if we expanded this out and got all the UUs in the area to create a UU kind of daycare. Really put it out that it is UU. And just like other groups have their name, have their institutions. But just as Pat was saying, the whole thing starts with education, culturalization. And if we look at, as UUs, reaching out to the overall community to expand what we're doing, certainly by doing something with a daycare, preschool, or something like that, would certainly promote our interests. And I think that particularly if we pull together UUs from the area, all the resources would be there, and it could be done really well.
Sue?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay. It seems to me like there needs to be some study of need. We have Ada Jenkins Center here in Davidson. We've got centers throughout. People really care about 3 and 4-year-olds, but there might be needs otherwise that we could meet, like the elderly, which Lord knows we could relate to. I'm speaking for myself, okay, Smarty.
Who's she talking about?
But, studies have shown that there are so many people who are lonely and do so poorly in whatever home environment they have or don't have. And you see the results, but maybe we should study this a lot more before we jump in with 3 and 4-year-olds who are adorable, and we know it. I've just been in a situation where I've seen their artwork and some of their things that they've written, and it was just lovely. But it's at a church in Mooresville, which has donated the parsonage to this for homeless women and children. And after hearing Amy, my daughter, talk, there are so many complicating factors that can come up, but we don't want to just jump in to it unless we've given this a lot of thought. And I know you're not proposing that we do, but think about what the needs of the community are. We could have a study or talk about it with people in the government, for example. And so many things are provided by the government, especially for 3 and 4-year-olds. So anyway.
Anybody else? Maybe,
As Pat just said, he sprung this on it. Actually, when you first began, I thought you were talking about a daycare while we were having service.
I
But
did
now
too.
you're talking about a full daycare, which it scares me. It scares the Jesus out of me. I'm very frugal and I'd be really careful. I did say that I would talk to the building fund committee, but I was talking about checking on storefronts for possible rental. So maybe that would be a step, and then maybe we go somewhere else.
32 years as a real estate broker, commercial and residential. I've done a lot of property management, and a lot of those were Section 8. Single moms that their husbands just left. They need help, I agree. But to do this under the name of UU, National would have to agree with it, because you hear about daycares being sued all the time because the child said they beat me, whether they did or not. They get a lawyer. Everybody gets sued. And anybody with the name of UU would be on that list. The insurance would be very high to cover, liability insurance on top of that. So, because you're dealing with the public, whether we charge them or it's free, we're a business.
Mhm. Sounds like the board may want to put together a study committee of folks that would look at this idea or any sort of outreach, and look at all the factors that have been raised today. There's a lot of good heart and there's a lot of good business. And I think you have to put them together and then perhaps bring that along. And meanwhile, if we can be supportive to Sue's daughter, I mean, you've got somebody that's working with a group of people that have lost probably just about everything if they're taking refuge in a home, and that would be another outreach that perhaps we could help with.
I'd like to add, they're not rolling in money, but they've got churches all over Mooresville that are supporting them. So the need, I mean, we've helped them with special cosmetics and shampoos and things for people with hair different from some of us. But anyway, we've helped them, and that was appreciated. But sometimes the need is not there like we think, or it's really being met by larger churches. And all of the rooms in this house today, for example, the furniture had been donated, the work to paint the room, it was all from another church. So I'm not asking for money for her, because she's real good at fundraising anyway, but that's not necessarily a need for everyone. Ada Jenkins here in town has worlds of support. We do even special needs for them. So we need to be careful. We would want to meet a real need.
Enough for you to munch on?
Yeah, I'm not gonna munch on it. Y'all munch on it.
Okay, so we're going to close our talk back, and Mike is going to come up. And our musical reflection today is "Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow."
Thanks for change the words to "Don't Stop Munching on Tomorrow."
That's too much work. No, thank you for being patient with the wireless. As I work through it, and it's a learning curve. Just a couple tips. Try to hold it this way instead of that way, because the microphone goes this way, not that way. This way. You get it. All right, Fleetwood Mac. Don't want to smile if it takes just a little while. Open your eyes, look at the day. You'll see things in a different way. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here. It'll be here, better than before. Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. Why not think about the times to come? Not about the things that you've done. If your life was back to you, just think what tomorrow can do. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here. It'll be here, better than before. Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. All I want is to see you smile. If it takes just a little while, I know it's true. I never meant any harm to you. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here. It'll be here, better than before. Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. Don't you look back. Don't you look back. Next time we all sing on the chorus.
That would be good. All right, now we come to the portion of our service where we share our gifts. Our fellowship is important to all of us, and our contributions allow us to sustain and grow our congregation, to reach out to the community, both nearby and in the larger world. So your giving affirms our commitment to each other and to that community. You're supposed to. With grateful hearts, we receive these gifts. May they encourage us to live lives of integrity, compassion, generosity, and peace. We're also grateful to everyone who makes other things that we do in our community possible. Everybody who helps build a fence, serves at FeedNC, takes care of things so that when we come into church, the chairs are set up, we have a program, all of those people. Thank you. So it's time for announcements. Linda, you want to lead off?
Okay, yeah, we've been talking about the auction that's coming up June 1st, and I guess I'll talk in the microphone if we could.
We have one.
I know, all of them are right. Yeah, the auction's coming up June 1st. I hope everybody can come and participate. There is a sign-up sheet out there, and also a donation sheet if you have something to donate. I'm here, which hasn't been mentioned yet, is that I'm in charge, me and George, I guess, doing the libation table. And if anybody can donate some kind of drink, a bottle of wine or beer, or I don't know, let me know. I think my email is somewhere in here. Tuscany Lenders under the movies. Let me know what you can donate for that, because we don't sell it, we give it out, and sometimes people make donations for that. So let me know if you can donate any of that stuff. Also, we're going to go to McAllister's today in Cornelius after the service. So want to join us there for some food? Love to see you.
And if you look in your order of service, you'll see that there are other announcements. Movie Tuesdays, and the Heart of Carolina's Animal Ministry is on April 20th, when we'll be doing our next fence building. Feed North Carolina is this Thursday, April 11th. So if you'll let Jim Arnold know if you can help with that. And then we have a spring litter cleanup. So a lot of stuff going on there. So we'll now have our closing song. It's hymn number 129, Spirit of Life. Oh, 123? I tell you. Well, I was in the vicinity, right? So, okay. If you will stand as you're willing and able.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving light, shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
And our closing words today are from Hubert Humphrey, speaking of good politicians that you wish had gone all the way. And his comments are, sorry. The moral test of a government is how it treats those who are in the dawn of life, its children, how it treats those in the twilight of life, the elderly, and how it treats those who are in the shadow of life, the sick, the needy, and the disabled. And my question is this not also the test of our faith community? And is it not also the test that we should be asking of ourselves? I think, are we done? And that's it. We have to extinguish the chalice. Golly.
Can we join hands to extinguish the chalice?
Yes. Okay. And your closing words are in our service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Now we're done. And there we go. Sorry about that.